Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks for making your way here, for checking out the episode. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already. You know how this works. I'll give you new interviews like this one every single week, multiple interviews, usually every single week. Of course, you can also grab the audio versions if you want the podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast. NPR, WFPK.org, Consequence, or of course, right here on YouTube for the video versions. Anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. That's me, Kyle Meredith. Today, we're once again going to be talking about Alien Earth on FX. This is, of course, the latest in the Alien franchise, and I'm going to be talking with David Rysdahl. You know, David from he played Wayne in the fifth season of Fargo. He was in 9 Days. He was in No Exit. He was in Oppenheimer. And he's back, and it's incredible cast of Alien Earth. Of course, check out my previous episode where I talked to a lot of the cast, including Timothy Oliphant and Sidney Chandler, and the writer director Noah Hawley as well. And this marks the second time that David and Noah have worked together. Of course, Noah also did Fargo, so I'm going to talk to David about that. We're going to talk about, of course, Alien Earth, and let's read the premise real quick here. When a space vessel crash lands on Earth, a young woman and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's biggest threats. Yes, the monster is in here, but it's so much more than a monster story. We get to talk about AI. We get to talk about immortality. We get to talk about the environmental catastrophe. It's such an interesting way to tell this story, to continue this story, instead of just making a monster show. Which again, the monster's here, monster's great. The set is great. It's beautiful look. It's beautifully acted, but the depths that Noah has taken this story should be talked about because it accounts for so much more than just, your typical continuation. But yeah, so we're going to talk about all that more. Let's just get into it. Hopefully you're already watching the show anyway. We're talking Alien Earth, out now on FX. It's Kyle Meredith with David Rysdahl. Pleasure to have you
Like
on
your
here today.
background, I'm sure everyone always comments on it, but a lot going on in there.
Yeah, I mean I've got to make it look more interesting than this right here. This is
That's the one rule of acting is always remember you're enough. So Kyle, you're enough. You're enough.
I sure am when I've got Depeche Mode and David Bowie
Yeah.
over my
I know,
shoulder.
I know. We all feel that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Alien Earth. Geez, what a thing here, right?
Yeah. What a thing.
What a thing. I because so yeah, so I watched. They gave us the first six episodes,
Mhm.
which is just enough to be dangerous,
Yeah.
not enough to be too useful.
Yeah.
And it's this has been such a show that has stuck with me,
Oh yeah.
because
Well,
of
a
what it.
lot of it's very prescient or relevant with the race to become immortal, severe inequity, the this question like should humans survive, humans fuck each other over for a percentage, the corporations taking over the earth. It's a lot of it's stuff that I think we're dealing with in our normal lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, I think that was surprising too. I mean, when you go into a series, if you get to go to a series completely blind, and when you have something that's got that much history behind it,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we know
totally.
this is part of a franchise.
Yeah.
So, there's a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, the
But
monster.
sure,
Yeah,
but the show's not about the monster.
I know.
And
Yeah.
that's what's so cool about this. So I
Yeah.
want to back up before we get into that part there too, because this finds you working with Noel again.
Yeah.
I mean, coming off of
Um,
Fargo, I mean, that's got to be a nice situation. What's that relationship with you two like? Like, how did
oh,
you be the one? How are you the one that got to move ahead?
I mean, I'm always asking myself, same with you, like you're enough, I finished up the last day of shooting and Noah sent me an email. You want to come to Thailand? And I was like, yes, I do. And Noah is he has a huge brain and is obviously a great writer, but the center of it all is a man who loves his family, loves humans, and has a huge heart. And I feel like in both shows, I got to play that version of Noah Hawley. Wayne Lyon is that for his family and for that season. And Arthur, is that in Alien. I think the conscience and the heart of it.
Is that ever a conversation that the two of you all had? Do you ever go like,
I kind of I said that Arthur's a foil to Wayne, like there's similar arcs that happen. Like they're both idealists that have their world shaken and their faith in their kind of wives questioned.
yeah,
And yeah, so there's like a similar parallel universe that they exist in.
I get, and I'm thinking more of like of Noah too, because when you
Mm.
said that, I was reminded like George Costanza, Larry David
Oh,
style.
yeah,
It's like, am
yeah.
I playing you?
I did ask him that. I was like, I think early on with Wayne, especially, I said, Wayne loves his wife and he's not a joke. And like Noah's like, no, he's not a joke. He really loves his wife the way I love my wife. And I do feel like I'm playing a part of Noah. I think we're all, whenever you work with a writer like that, you're playing a part of him, no matter where who you are in the cast. If you're in the main cast, you're playing a part of the creator, and that helps you have a North Star.
Yeah.
And I see Noah through an Arthur and Wayne lens, actually.
And you
Uh,
write too, right?
I do right, yeah.
Yeah, so you would know if that's true.
Without a doubt, sometimes a character will come up that you're writing, and you're like 2 years in and you realize, oh my God, that's what I'm dealing with. That's what the show's about. And it's this thing that I've been internally percolating on for years. And these characters surprise you. Or you have an actor come in and see it in a way, and you're like, that's the character. And that's wow, what a revelation, an internal revelation of who I am. So yeah, that's what thing about filmmaking and art. This kind of you're it's an exploration of self. It sounds um it's not navel gazing in that way, but there's like a sense of like you're exploring your own psyche through it. And I think Noah's exploring how he's viewing this world and like seeing the scariness that's coming. And do we trust humans? Have we taken care of the planet that do we deserve to live?
Mhm.
Uh, are we the monster? Let's shift our focus to the insect at the beginning, that first pilot, and from their point of view, we're the monster, right? And from a lot of species on Earth, we're the monster. And that's a question as we move into this next stage of climate change and technology, like what do we owe the Earth and owe each other as we step forward? And I think Noah's asking those big questions internally and gets to write a show about it. And then we all as actors get to portray those fears.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that's not a very comfortable question to ultimately ask ourselves. What you just said, do
Yeah.
we deserve to live?
Yeah. No, it's a
Because
very
because
obviously.
yeah, if you get rid of us, like everything else is fine, right? Like
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's what the thing is like it's been fine before us and we think we're the pinnacle of something, but it'll be fine after. And that's what's humbling and to approach the world with that humility is part of the answer. And I think part of the question the show has, I think Arthur comes in with a little bit of blind trust and pride and then realizes that he's way over his head. So is the whole corporation and has to question all these ideals he started the show with.
But he's like, and again, we're not going to get into the plot points here,
Yeah, yeah, of
but this is a
course.
good guy.
Yeah, totally. He's
And and with every character, and I think you know that going into it, even if you just see the trailer, like, what you're faced with is almost every character, it's questionable. Do they
yeah.
think they're the good person or are they the bad person? Do they know that's, and some of them do,
Hmm.
some of them, and some of them are wrong, but you've got this guy here that you get to play
Yeah.
it, and again, this is without knowing how this
Yeah.
season ends or whatever. But this guy, he really feels like this is maybe the most pure person there.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about the people working on the Oppenheimer Manhattan Project. Those are scientists that loved the work, loved the science, believed in the purity of science, and that's what Arthur is. He loves the technology, knows that we're in a race for immortality, and that's going to happen anyway. Well, why not do it in an ethical way, these children are sick, and I don't want to give away too much spoilers, but like there's like there he is a man who lets his wife and the kind of the corporation do the ethical thinking, and he's like, I love the science, and the science is good. Let's keep going forward. And though a lot of people are working for these AI companies right now, and there's a lot of promise for these AI companies, but if you take the blinder, just put those blinders on, then you could end up missing a lot of signals and a lot of warning signs. And I think that's for me what Arthur is. So it was important for me to be a purist, a full human. I want to grow that beard out and be like this shaggy man in the midst of these beautiful hybrids and synths, and be a person who believed in it and then had his faith questioned.
Mhm. Yeah, I got to I was asking Tim and Alex the same
Yeah.
question. Like when you go into a show like this, we're all in that moment because we're in that AI moment too, right? Like it's funny because everything you were saying about happening is like, I'm sorry, are you talking about now or the show?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is like, do you even notice like when you go through this whole experience on this show and this script, does it affect how you felt about it one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading so much transhumanism. I was reading Ray Kurzweil. I was full in. I write a lot about this
That
stuff
guy
now.
is so right about so many things.
I know. Oof. It's yes, he is. And so did it give me answers? No, but it allowed me to put my fears and my questions into a role and really think about it for months. And I'm still thinking about it. So it's deepened my questions and allowed me to meditate on the warnings. And I hope that's what the show does too. I think artists get in trouble when we give too many answers. I think our job is to actually ask the questions and then have other people take that and have a big discussion about it. So I hope the show, it's fun. It's an alien show, but I hope the show also sparks a lot of discussions around for people. I know it has in my own life about where we're going and how we should proceed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what sticks with you afterwards, even without knowing how this season
Yeah.
because that's also the fun thing is we're having this conversation right now, and we're talking about Arthur and being such a good guy. And it's like, but still anybody can go any way in this show.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
the fun part. And I don't know the answer to that. Were you familiar with the franchise? Is that even important when you're going into it to know the lore?
I think it is important. Some people maybe don't think that way, but I think that this lore belongs to the people. And if you're
Mm.
going to come in and play with it, you owe a certain kind of respect to the lore and to the fans. And I luckily was a fan, especially of the first few movies. I saw Alien in my cousin's basement when I was like 14, and I didn't sleep. And I couldn't tell my parents because like they wouldn't been happy at that point at that moment that I watched it. But that that fear. Also, I didn't understand at that point when I first watched it, I was 14. It was all about the alien, and then when you rewatch it, you realize the corporation, you realize the greed. It's a movie that you can go back to and see different monsters inside of it and different perspectives. And then as I was prepping for this role, I just watched those first two movies, especially over and over again for the acting kind of naturalism and this like the movement, the 70s aesthetic. And I started to have more and more appreciation for Aliens, the second one. The first one is still my favorite, but the second one and just how you take a franchise and you add more horror elements, you can take some action, you can play within the sandbox you've already created. And so I was a fan to answer your question, but uh, and I do think it's important to know the lore and to know and I think Noah's a huge fan and has really taken the feeling and the themes of it and built a show out of it.
That's because going back to you and Noah doing this and Fargo, because that's twice
Yeah.
now that you're part of something that someone else created and to have to expand on that universe. Like that's we've seen that fail more times than succeed, and here you all have like done it twice.
Well,
That's
it's very nerve-wracking to go into, the fans rightly are like, okay. Let's see it. And because Noah's track record with Fargo, it gave me a lot more confidence. Because
Yeah.
I remember hearing about Fargo in 2014, I think, and I was like, what are they doing? No, bad idea. And then you watch that first season and you're like, oh, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And so if anyone could do it, Noah can do it. And so it gave me a lot more confidence coming into Alien, knowing that we're in good hands. And then it allows you to take risks as an actor because the worst thing for an actor is to feel nervous about that. To think about that stuff too much is going to make you have a less risky performance and not take those swings.
Sure. And then put your trust in the editors and
And anyways,
your performance is there, right?
you also have all of these practical, you have puppeteers, you
Mm,
have actors in costumes, you have these practical effects happening. So you're living in it and you can put your trust in that too. You're not acting with a tennis ball in front of a green screen. So
right.
it which is more difficult. Like so they're giving you the performance. All you gotta do is be present and act like how you would in those given circumstances because they're something's flying at you. Yeah.
Is there a trick? Because we think about Wendy and the others, and
Mhm.
and for them, I mean, because that's an interesting acting
Yeah.
tightrope too, because they're adults with the minds of children,
Yeah.
but they're also superhuman and all of this stuff, and you're acting opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like, is there a trick for you as well? Because if it were a kid, there is that how you would talk, I guess.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the backstory of Essie, Samuel, and I about how this came to be, like the dead ends that we came up with. We're going to sell this to the rich, so there has to be a sense that you maintain yourself in these hybrids. So I believe that they are themselves. Like there's that. If we're going to sell this to people, they don't want to think that they're going to die, and then their consciousness coming up. Their real selves are uploaded. So Arthur believes that. Arthur believes these are children, and we want them to develop naturally. That was all a process because we want people to feel like they're experiencing life in a real way. So all that backstory allowed me to have the foundation to treat these as real children, just super intelligent, smart, and gifted children, but they needed a strong hand. And then as like I said, and I don't want to get too many spoilers, but you start to question that system, and you're like, what was I? I was playing God in a way, and what are we doing? And you kind of feel silly for and way out of your depth in it. And I think that's also fatherhood, which I have not experienced yet, but for me, the season's also a metaphor about fatherhood. That
Right.
you have these children that become more than you, and you think that you understand them and you can help guide them, but they're living in a vastly different world than you do. And I think that's another metaphor or an angle through which to see the show.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see that happening very quickly, like you all becoming very parental to
Yes.
them
Yes.
and getting called out on that pretty quickly too. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like especially when you're up against sense, these sense characters that just they don't have that emotion there. And I,
Yeah.
I love seeing that interplay because Babu and he's got this humanity, but at the same time, it's the questioning, but you've got this others that don't like seriously the way the story was written. That's
Hmm.
that's what I'm getting to because it's so well done about this clash of
Yeah.
not personality. It is personality, but it's like the stuff behind that personality. I love seeing you all play with that.
Without a doubt. And I think that Arthur had to be the most human that of the shit. For me, I was seeing everybody, Noah does these elaborate screen tests. I don't know if any other actors talk about that, but
Uh,
they're really like the first days of shooting. They're not just standing in front of camera and feel yourself in character. They're mapped out tableaus. And so you're seeing the show before you start shooting it. And I started seeing what Babu was doing and what Tim was doing. And I was like, oh, Arthur needs like a big, and then we had the strike happen, right? So I had a time to grow this beard out. And because I was like, he needs to be the guy eating the salad sandwich and having a dropping because he's a heart. He's all he and that's his viewpoint in the world. And there are and because that I agree, that's the strong point of the show is different viewpoints on what it means to be human, what it means to be alive, and living in an ecosystem together.
I love how much thought you put into that beard. So,
Yeah. It's like similar to your background. If you got a
mhm.
big beard, the acting takes care of
It
itself.
does it right there. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, I'll quickly point out too the soundtrack because you get a score through it, and then every episode ends. Everything, it's like the most perfect song
I
right
know.
then. Like if the episode was already great, because we know music elevates, sure, cliches,
Yeah.
etc. But there's something about when Tool's Stinkfist hits and
I know.
Metallica hits, and
Yeah.
you get Nina there at the beginning, and that's really funny because of the music to come and everything. But
Yeah.
um, I didn't get
Well,
to talk about the
similar
joint.
to Fargo, I remember when John Hamm's walking and he has that toxic by
Yeah.
Noah's known for that. And Jeff Russo, like they they he loves playing with tone in that way too, and kind of hitting at you don't think it's the right song, and all of a sudden it's the perfect song. It's like almost surprises you
Uh-huh.
with how perfect it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it was so unexpected every time, even as I got used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, man, I love that stuff. This is so good. Seriously, the work you all put into it, it's beautiful, and the creation and the acting and the way it looks. So, I've got nothing but congrats, and I'm seeing the reviews pour out on this thing, and I'm pretty sure that's the consensus at this point. So well done, y'all.
Well, I appreciate it. I feel like I'm a small part, and there's so many people who are working behind the scenes that have done amazing. All these amazing artists from all over the world, which is like part of the cool part of the show too. It feels like it's 100 years from now because it's
Mhm.
like the cast and crew is from every continent and like 50 different countries. So it's wild. So
Beautiful. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk about it.
thank you, Kyle. I appreciate you having me.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.